Hi, I'm Muhammed Hamdan and Nightline begins now. The top stories. Government extends SSPN tax relief until 2024. And BNM maintains 2023 GDP growth at 4 to 5%. Good morning. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi on Wednesday confirmed that Datuk Seri Sulaiman Mat Ali has submitted his resignation letter as Melaka Chief Minister during a meeting at his office in the Parliament building on Tuesday. Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid, who is also UMNO President, said he would seek an audience with Melaka Yang di-Pertua Negeri Tun Muhammad Ali Rustam to present the names of possible candidates to be appointed as the new Chief Minister.
Saya ingin mengesahkan bahawa saya telah menerima surat peruntukan jawatan daripada Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Utama Haji Sulaiman bin Haji Muhammad Ali, Ketua Menteri Melaka. Dan saya akan menghadap Tuan Yang Pertama, Tun Sri Dr. Ali Haji Rustam untuk mempersembahkan nama calon yang bersesuaian bagi pelantikan Ketua Menteri yang baru.
Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid, however, did not say when he will seek an audience with Tun Muhammad Ali or the number of individuals on the list. He also said that he cannot confirm or deny whether the name of Melaka UMNO Liaison Committee Chairman Datuk Seri Abdul Rauf Yusof will be on the list. When asked if the change of the Chief Minister is part of the planning for the formation of the unity government in Melaka, which he announced recently, Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid said there is a possibility that it will happen. Speculation about the appointment of the new Melaka Chief Minister began circulating on Wednesday following messages that went viral on the WhatsApp application about the new Chief Minister's swearing-in ceremony that will take place this Friday. Now, the government has decided to extend the individual income tax relief of up to 8,000 ringgit for net savings in the National Education Savings Scheme, SSPN, until 2024. This was among several additional initiatives in the 2023 budget announced by Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim in Parliament on Wednesday.
Setelah mendengar keresahan yang disuarakan dan teguran kepada kerajaan, maka dengan ini saya bersetuju untuk melanjutkan pelepasan cukai pendapatan individu sehingga RM8,000 untuk simpanan bersih tahunan dalam skim simpanan pendidikan nasional sehingga tahun 2024. Cadangan ini melibatkan kehilangan hasil kerajaan sekitar RM250 juta setahun dan memanfaatkan lebih 400,000 pembayar cukai.
Datuk Seri Anwar, who is also Finance Minister, said this when tabling the 2023 supply bill for second reading in the Dewan Negara. The National Higher Education Fund Corporation, PTPTN, introduced the scheme in 2004 with the ultimate goal of reducing student debt by allowing parents to save up for their children's education as well as get tax relief of up to 8,000 ringgit each year and takaful protection at the same time. Deputy Finance Minister Stephen Sim had reportedly said the tax relief would be discontinued as the government was already giving other exemptions such as a 2% tax cut for individual income taxes and increased relief for medical expenses. In addition, Datuk Seri Anwar also announced that starting April 1st this year, the government will expand the provision of the Syarikat Jaminan Kredit Perumahan (SJKP) housing credit to fixed and irregular income groups to have their first home. Under the 2023 budget, the SJKP Housing Credit Scheme had been improved by increasing the financing guarantee fund from 3 billion to 5 billion ringgit to help first-time home buyers. Now, Dato' Sri Anwar also said that more than 4 million Employees Provident Fund (EPF) members are eligible to benefit from its account to support facility initiative, which will enable them to apply for financing between 3,000 and 50,000 ringgit from banking institutions without resorting to any special withdrawals. The loan amount, however, is subjected to the balance of their savings in account too, as well as the terms and conditions set by the banks.
Guna institusi kewangan dan kaedah pinjaman Islam dengan kadar perkhidmatan yang sangat rendah dan dana pokok itu tidak terganggu walaupun ada masalah yang kemudian dihadapi.
The Prime Minister pointed out that the account to savings is only used as a backup. Therefore, the financing facility does not contradict Section 51 of the EPF Act. It is also Sharia compliant and does not involve any elements of riba or usury, as the interest rates charged by the banking institutions are expected to be between 4% and 5% per year, which is significantly lower than the current market rates of between 8% and 15%. Moving on, Bank Negara forecasts the Malaysian economy to grow between 4% and 5% this year, supported by firm domestic demand. According to its governor, Tan Sri Nur Syamsiah Yunos, private consumption and investment growth will be supported by improvements in labour market conditions, as well as continued implementation of multi-year investment projects and higher tourism activity.
We take into account both the upside and downside risk, and the range of the growth this year would be between 4% and 5%. And because we did mention that the balance of risk is fairly balanced, so the point forecast is quite similar to that announced by the MOF.
Meanwhile, inflation rate is expected to moderate between 2.8% and 3.8%. However, the outlook for inflation remains tilted to the upside, including the worsening geopolitical conflict. This will lead to higher commodity prices and extreme weather conditions, as well as stronger than expected demand from China and higher input costs due to exchange rate developments. Meanwhile, Bank Muamalat Chief Economist and Social Finance Muhammad Afzanizam Abdul Rashid has deemed the assessment by the central bank on the country's economy, which is projected to grow between 4% and 5% in 2023, as fair, adding that the key driver for the economy will be domestic demand, especially consumer spending, as well as investment activities.
I think it's still a decent growth rate, the way we see it, and we think that while we think that the Bank Negara would actually increase the OPR, but still the level is deemed to be accommodative to the economy. And you can see also the fiscal policy also is likely to be expansionary, judging from the targets in terms of fiscal deficits. That also will be a key driver for the domestic economy this year. So generally speaking, we think that the assessment by the central bank is fair.
Despite this, he added that there are still potential downside risks, such as inflation and geopolitical developments, that might alter the growth momentum. He also said the recent banking crisis in the US serves as a reminder that the risks continue to be visible. However, the threat is muted for now and more centered around the external front.
Interest rates, inflation, borrowing costs, higher cost of property investments. How have these factors forced sellers to adjust their prices? Will the property market remain active with positive growth? How to tackle the alarming number of sick housing projects? Money Matters this Saturday with Reda Malaysia at 5 p.m. only on TV3.
Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim assured that the issue on the permanent placement of contract doctors can be resolved by the government in 3 years' time. The Prime Minister said that the problem had been existing for a long time and that the current government could not resolve it within a year.
Kalau kita nak selesaikan kesemuanya sekali 4,000 yang dituntut, maknanya kita kena perlu 10 bilion ringgit tahun ini. Maka tak mungkin. Sebab itu, saya bagi jaminan tahun ini 1,500, tahun depan atau berikutnya, dalam tempoh katakanlah 3 tahun, kita boleh selesaikan masalah ini.
In November 2021, the Health Ministry said 4,186 contract healthcare personnel had been evaluated and certified to be absorbed as permanent staff by the Public Services Department. This involves 3,586 doctors, 300 dentists and 300 pharmacists. Earlier on Wednesday, Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah urged healthcare workers not to go on strike as it was not the best solution to address problems plaguing the healthcare system. He said this in response to rumours that there will be a strike by contract doctors next month. The Dewan Rakyat on Wednesday passed an amendment bill for the Sexual Offences Against Children Act to better protect minors against such crimes. The bill was passed through a voice note after it was tabled for its second and third reading by Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Law and Institutional Reform, Datuk Sri Azalina Othman Said. Datuk Sri Azalina said it was crucial to amend the Act to ensure the laws remained in line with technological developments and to better protect children against all forms of sexual exploitation and abuse online. She pointed out that the amendments would allow for the prosecution of not only those who watch and participate in sexual acts against children online, but also middlemen and syndicates who organize and distribute such content. Those found guilty of offences under the Act will face up to 20 years imprisonment and a fine of 50,000 ringgit. The amendments also introduce provisions allowing children to appear in court as a witness, as well as seeking to increase the age of child witnesses from 16 to 18 years old. Moving on, the Human Resources Ministry has approved a total of 995,396 employment quota for foreign workers as of March 14th. Its Deputy Minister Mustafa Sakmut said of the total, the levy for 84.7% of them had been paid by employers.
Pihak majikan diberi tempoh masa sehingga 18 bulan bagi maksud urusan membawa masuk pekerja asing ke Malaysia selepas membuat pembayaran levy. Pertimbangan ini diberikan bagi membantu pihak majikan untuk menguruskan kemasukan pekerja asing dalam tempoh yang mencukupi.
Mustafa told the Dewan Rakyat on Wednesday that most of the quota approved were for workers in the manufacturing sector, followed by construction, services, plantations, agriculture, mining and quarrying. So far, Malaysia has established labour cooperation for the recruitment and employment of foreign workers through Memoranda of Understanding MOUs with 10 source countries. However, only 8 MOUs are still in force, namely with Bangladesh, China, Indonesia, Thailand, Pakistan, Vietnam, Nepal and Cambodia, while the MOUs with India and Sri Lanka had expired. The minister had also finalised the MOU with the Government of India on March 13, 2023, which is expected to be signed before the end of the first quarter of this year. The government is targeting the value of sales generated by direct selling companies in Malaysia to increase to 30 billion ringgit in the next 5 years. Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Minister Datuk Sri Salahuddin Ayub said the value of sales recorded by the country's direct selling industry in 2021, which amounted to more than 27 billion ringgit.
Ini adalah suatu sumbangan yang besar sebenarnya ke arah peningkatan KDNK kita. Di mana industri ini sebenarnya bagi saya sangat berpotensi dalam konteks kita menggalakkan mereka yang mencepuri gig ekonomi ini.
Datuk Sri Salahuddin spoke to the media after presenting the Research, Development and Commercialisation Grant of Khazanah Alam Direct Selling Industry Programme in Putrajaya on Wednesday. He also noted that the cosmetics and food supplement industries were among the biggest contributors to the value of sales. Dato' Sri Salahuddin added he is also optimistic that local direct sales companies are capable of competing with international products. For the record, there are about 400 direct sales companies in Malaysia, with only 18% being foreign companies, while the rest are local companies. The Transport Ministry MOT is in the process of developing an online system through an application or other digital methods to cancel the registration of motor vehicles without having to go to the Road Transport Department RTD. Its Deputy Minister Dato' Hasbi Habibullah said the system is aimed at facilitating the disposal of old or broken vehicles.
Kenderaan buruk tersebut seterusnya akan boleh dilupuskan oleh syarikat pelupusan sisa pepejal ataupun dengan izin Authorised Automotive Treatment Facility AATF yang diiktiraf mengikut peraturan yang telah ditetapkan oleh agensi berkaitan. Dengan pelaksanaan inisiatif ini diharap ianya akan dapat menyelesaikan isu lembakan kenderaan buruk dan usang di negara kita.
Dato' Hasbi said this in the Dewan Rakyat on Wednesday in response to a query by Hulu Langat MP Muhammad Sani Hamdan on the country's end-of-life vehicle ELV management and disposal policy. He also said that the MOT through the RTD is ready to cooperate with relevant government agencies to study the long-term direction to deal with environmental pollution due to abandoned vehicles. He also pointed out that the implementation of the disposal system could contribute to increasing the level of road safety, as well as boosting demand for vehicles that will contribute to the sustainability of the country's automotive sector. After this breather, Myanmar junta dissolved Suu Kyi's party. Details when we return.
And it's a wrap.
Guys. Welcome back. To the foreign front, President Tsai Ing-wen on Wednesday said external pressure will not stop Taiwan engaging with the world, hitting a defiant note after China threatened retaliation if she met U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. China, which claims democratically ruled Taiwan as its own territory, has repeatedly warned U.S. officials not to meet Tsai, viewing it as support for the island's desire to be seen as a separate country. Tsai left on Wednesday for the United States, from where she will head to Guatemala and Belize to shore up ties with diplomatic allies. And on her way back to Taiwan, she will stop in California, where she's expected to meet McCarthy. This would be the first meeting on U.S. soil between a House Speaker and a Taiwanese leader, and the prospect has angered Beijing. Beijing staged war games around Taiwan last August when then U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taipei, and Taiwan's armed forces have said they are keeping watch for any Chinese moves when Tsai is abroad. France's Constitutional Council will issue the much-awaited verdict on April 14th on whether or not the government's plans to increase the French retirement age are in line with constitutional rules, it said in a statement on Wednesday. The plan by President Emmanuel Macron's government to delay the retirement age by 2 years to 64 have encountered fierce opposition from workers and trade unions, with the latest set of nationwide protests against it having taken place on Tuesday. Unions have asked Macron to withdraw or pause the bill, which has been adopted but not yet published, pending a review by the Constitutional Council to calm things down. The government has said it is more than willing to talk to unions, but on other topics, and has consistently said it would stand firm on the pensions issue. Prime Minister Elizabeth Bourne, meanwhile, has offered to meet unions next Monday and Tuesday. Myanmar's junta-stacked Election Commission on Tuesday announced Aung San Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy (NLD) party would be dissolved for failing to re-register under a tough new military-drafted electoral law. The Union Election Commission said that 63 political parties, including 50 existing parties, have applied for registration to compete in the general elections the military is planning. Suu Kyi's NLD was among 40 parties that failed to submit the application within the 60-day deadline required under the new law. The law, enacted January 26, allows for automatic disqualification of a party from an election and dissolution if it fails to register. The NLD has said it would not contest what it calls an illegitimate election. In November 2020, the NLD had won a landslide victory in the country's parliamentary elections, but less than 3 months later, the army carried out a coup and jailed Aung San Suu Kyi. Moving on, Russia on Wednesday began exercises with the Yas intercontinental ballistic missile system and several thousand of troops in what is likely to be seen as another attempt by Moscow to show off its nuclear strength. President Vladimir Putin has aimed to make the Yas missile system, which replaced the Topol system, part of Russia's invincible weapons and the mainstay of the ground-based component of its nuclear arsenal. The Defense Ministry said more than 3,000 military personnel and about 300 pieces of equipment are involved in the exercises conducted in 3 unspecified Russian regions. The Yas mobile ICBM system has a reported range of 12,000 kilometers and can carry multiple nuclear warheads. It can be mounted on a truck carriers or deployed in silos. Sports tennis, the 2023 Miami Open. Indian Wells champion Carlos Alcaraz defeated American Tommy Paul in straight sets to reach the quarterfinals of the Miami Open. Spain's world #1 deployed his dynamic game to tame Tommy Paul 6-4, 6-4 to extend his winning streak to 9 matches. The 19-year-old US Open champion will face another American, Taylor Fritz, in the last 8 after the 9-seed beat Denmark's Holger Rune. In another match, number 14 seed Karen Khachanov ousted number 2 seed Stefanos Tsitsipas from the Miami Open with a 7-6, 6-4 win. It was a rematch of their meeting from the 2023 Australian Open when Tsitsipas beat Khachanov on his way to a championship appearance. The Russian will play Francisco Cerundolo of Argentina in the quarterfinals. And on to football, Scott McTominay was the 2-goal hero at Hamdan Park, Glasgow, as Scotland beat Spain 2-0 to go top of Euro qualifying Group A. McTominay's goals came 5 minutes into each half as Spain twice failed to track the midfielder's late runs into the penalty area. The Scots also beat Cyprus 3-0 in the opening game. It is only the 8th time that Spain have lost a qualifier for either the Euros or the World Cup. And still to come, 9 individuals nabbed over threats made to loan shark defaulters. Nightline continues. In Johor, 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls were killed when a fire broke out in a house at Kampung Sabah Awar, Muar on Wednesday evening. State and Fire Rescue Department Public Relations Officer Abdul Rahman Azizul Kifli Sahimi said the blaze also destroyed 80% of the house. In a statement, Abdul Rahman said the department received a distress call on the incident at 7:49 p.m. and immediately deployed 20 firemen from Muar and Bukit Gambir fire stations to the scene. Upon arrival, the firemen quickly started extinguishing the flames before searching for the victims, who were discovered unconscious together in a bathroom. The victims, aged between 3 and 8, were pronounced dead at the scene, and their bodies were handed over to police for further action. The cause of the fire and the amount of losses incurred are still under investigation. And lastly, 9 individuals, including a married couple, were arrested by police over their alleged involvement with a syndicate paid by an ahlong to threaten borrowers who defaulted on their repayments. Shah Alam Police Chief ACP Muhammad Iqbal Ibrahim said the arrest of the 7 men and 2 women, all locals aged between 21 and 41, was carried out over 2 days since Monday in Selangor and the federal capital.
Membuat tangkapan terhadap 9 individu, iaitu 7 lelaki dan 2 perempuan Melayu, warga negara tempatan kerana terlibat dalam kegiatan memberi pinjam wang tanpa lesen. Peranan mereka ni, mereka mengugut dengan menampak notis, mengunci pintu rumah dan juga menyimbah cat ke rumah-rumah peminjam di kawasan Shah Alam.
Muhammad Iqbal also said the syndicate started operating since last month, and one of the suspects was offered the job when he went to the ahlong to borrow money. He added that the 41-year-old male suspect, who also invited his friends to join him, was offered between 300 ringgit and 450 ringgit as payment, depending on the travel distance and action taken against the loan defaulters. As many as 80 payment transactions were made to the suspect's account by the loan shark, and authorities are currently tracking others involved in the case. All the suspects have been remanded until March 31st to assist investigations under the Moneylenders Act for running unlicensed money lending business and the Penal Code for committing mischief. Nightline. But before we go, let's take a look at the Logos Hope, the world's largest floating book fair docks in Iraq. The ship remains in each port for several weeks and opens to the gangways for thousands of visitors each day. With that, I'm Muhammed. Thank you for watching. And to our Muslim viewers, Selamat Bersahur.